Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to have the opportunity to share my message of leadership with you. This is Rhett Laubach. From the great state of Oklahoma, I've had the opportunity to share my message of leadership since 1999. Over 1 million audience members in 48 states, the Bahamas, Canada, the District of Columbia. It's been an honor to be able to travel and share with people. Today, I have just a few minutes with you to share my message, #Live to Serve. I have 3 expectations of you over the next few minutes. Number 1, please be totally present. Let's be focused on the message. Number 2, I expect you to think application. The next few minutes is not going to be a Hallmark greeting card of leadership. We're not writing a cotton commercial. This is all about how to improve in a marked way your leadership abilities and your service abilities. So number 1, be totally present. Number 2, think application. And then number 3, please take notes. If you need to pause the video to get some note paper and a writing utensil in front of you, make that happen now. There will be some homework afterwards. So #Live to Serve. What are we talking about? Write this down. Align my attitudes and behaviors with making a positive difference today. That's what Live to Serve means. Taking your attitudes and behaviors on a daily basis and making sure that you are doing the best you can in terms of making a positive difference in the lives of others. So how do effective leaders do that? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Write this down. Impact rules. Probably 15, 16 years ago, I wrote the 4 impact rules. That's going to be our guideline today. This is going to be hopefully some new information for you. Also, I hope that it's just a reinforcement of a lot of good work that you're already doing as a positive leader. So we've got 4 impact rules. Number 1, write this down, please. Follow the influence rule. The first of our 4 rules is called the influence rule. The influence rule is this. Write this down. I choose to build others. I choose to build others. You see, the influence rule begins with, obviously, the word influence. And it is an understanding that no matter the size of your personality, no matter your age, no matter your lifestyle, no matter what you're involved in, you have influence over others. And the influence rule says if I'm going to make an impact on others in a positive way, then I choose to build others. I choose to use my influence for good. So write down a few names for me, please. Write down a few names. Number 1, write down the name of someone that you know who is always encouraging, always supportive, always reaches out to help you in any way they can. Write that person's name down, please. The second name I'd like you to write down is the name of someone that you know, maybe not as well as you know the first person, but someone that you know that needs you to build them up on a more regular basis. Someone that you know needs you to encourage them, support them, even if you're already doing it just a little more. Write that person's name down, please. And guys, as we go through this message together, push pause on that video anytime that you need a little extra time to think and reflect. Now for the last set of names, I actually just write down this. Write down Mr. and Miss Ripple. Just write that down. Mr. and Miss Ripple. We'll get back to that in a little bit. So let's go back to that first person. The first person that you know follows the influence rule. They choose to build others, others being you. Beside that person's name, pause the video as you're thinking about this and working on this, but beside that first person's name, write down 3 reasons at a minimum why you wrote their name down. Meaning, what are their actions, what are their attitudes that were the reasons why you chose that person as the person that influences you in an encouraging and supportive way. Write down at least 3 reasons. Be as specific as possible. Go ahead, pause the video, and spend some time on that. Okay, now we'll come back to the second. Now, for the second person, pause the video and write down a few reasons why you picked that person. Why did you pick that person as the person that you know you need to encourage and support a little more? What is going on in his or her life or your relationship with them that made you identify that they need you to be a little bit more of a positive influence on them? So go ahead, pause the video, and write down some reasons why. Okay, so now we've got what are the attitudes and behaviors of this person, number one, that really is a strong influence on you in a positive way. Here's your homework for that person. Thank them. Thank them in an active way. You know, you can't decide to be happy. You can't decide to be joyful. Those are emotions that are byproducts of other things. And one of the most powerful ways to have happiness and joyfulness in your life is to be grateful. And not only to be grateful, which you can choose to be, but to choose to express your gratefulness. And when you are grateful, that leads to joyfulness. So for that first person that is a strong influence on you in a positive way, thank them on a regular basis. Now, for that second person, set a goal. Set a goal right now. How are you going to be a more positive influence on them? Be specific with your goal. When are you going to do it next? How are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? How often are you going to do it? Set a goal right now. Again, pause the video if you need to. For that second person that you know you need to be a more positive influence on, how are you going to go about doing it? Now, for those last couple of people, Mr. and Mrs. Ripple, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, you know, you've been around more than a few days. You know that when you drop any object into a body of liquid, it'll create a set of ripples, right? The ripple effect. You've heard of that. Well, that's where Mr. and Miss Ripple's name comes from, is that when you make it a daily habit of following the influence rule and choosing to build others on a daily basis, the ripple effect is in play every single day. Every single day. Write this down. When building others and using my influence for good becomes a daily habit, I will never truly know how many people I have helped. When building others and using my influence for good becomes a daily habit, I will never truly know how many people I have helped. That's the power of following the influence rule. I choose to build others on a daily basis because that ripple effect is in play. And when people think of you, people think of someone who they want to be around. Not in a popularity standpoint, but from a standpoint of this other person makes me feel better about myself. So rule number 1 of the 4 impact rules, The influence rule, I choose to build others. Let's move on now to rule number 2. Write this down. Follow the class rule. Follow the class rule. And the class rule says, I choose to build trust. Write that down. I choose to build trust. So what I mean by class is that you are a first-class leader. You are someone who carries themselves in a way that being first class is second nature to you. It's just who you are. And what we do to be first class is a long list, but one of the most important ones is you choose to build trust. Write this down. Trust is the currency of leadership. Trust is the currency of leadership. If you are really going to be able to make a strong, positive difference in the lives of others, you have to be trustworthy. Write that word down. Trustworthy. That's one of my favorite words when it comes to leadership. What that means is your actions, your behaviors, your attitudes make you someone who is worthy of other people trusting you, right? Write this down. The impact I can make on others is strengthened when I am seen as trustworthy. The impact I can make on others is strengthened when I am seen as trustworthy. So as we dig just a little deeper into this, building trust is not only taking care of the basics, right? The basics being these. Write these down if you need to. Honesty. That's a basic of building trust. Hard work. Having that strong work ethic. Basics of building trust. Keeping your word. A basic of building trust. It's not only those basics, but to really make a strong, positive difference in the lives of others, it's also supercharging your ability to build trust. 2 ways here. Write these 2 things down. These are ways to supercharge your ability to build trust with others. Number 1, do things I really don't have to do. Do things I really don't have to do, but I do anyway because they are the right thing to do. Do things I really don't have to do, but I do them anyway because they are the right thing to do. You see, that falls in that category of I don't have to be asked to do this. I don't have to be asked to do that. Even if it's not my responsibility, even if it's not for me to do, I'm going to step up and do it anyway. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. That is a way to supercharge your ability to build trust with others. And the second way to supercharge trust, write this down please, talk up about people when they are not around. Talk up about people when they are not around. This lesson actually comes from a very, very famous professional development, personal development author. His name is Dr. Stephen Covey. Write that name down. Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N. Dr. Stephen Covey, one of the most famous personal development books, relationship development books ever. He's the author of it, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I highly encourage you to get a copy of that and consume it. He says that one of the most powerful ways to build trust with people that are around you, like in the room with you, is to talk up, say nice things, say supportive things about someone that's not in the room with you. What he's done here is he's taken one of the most negative, destructive, but yet highly acceptable ways of interacting with others, gossip, and he's flipped it upside down. He says, you know, what we should do to build trust with others is not talk about people when they're not around, not talk down about people, but to build other people up even when they're not around. Because what that does is whoever you're sharing that with, right, that good news about someone else, that celebration of someone else, whoever you're sharing that with, they are thinking, wow, I bet they do the same thing for me when I'm not around. Super, super way to build trust with other people. So number one, the influence rule, I choose to build others. Number two, the class rule, I choose to build trust. Number three of the impact rules, write this down, follow the spirit rule. The spirit rule says, I choose to give my best in the face of challenges. I choose to give my best in the face of challenges. Challenges are a normal part of life. Right? Write this down. My quality of life is less about whether I have challenges or not. My quality of life is less about whether I have challenges or not, and more about how I respond to those challenges. My quality of life is less about whether I have challenges or not, but more about how I respond to those challenges. Everybody has challenges. So how do you know how to give your best? Well, because everyone has challenges, when you're struggling with something, as I'm sure you're struggling with something right now, your task is to find someone who either currently or in the past has also struggled with that challenge and has overcome that challenge, and ask them some questions. Listen to them. Learn from them. Apply what you learn from them. Community is what it's about. We cannot go through challenges and give our best alone. We've got to reach out to others. Whatever challenge you're going through now and in the future, find someone who has gone through that same challenge. Ask them some questions. Listen to them. Learn from them. Apply what you learn. The spirit rule. We've got to have a strong spirit, internal fire to make a positive difference in the lives of others. But it's challenging. That's why we choose to give our best and we lean on others to help us. And that brings us to our final impact rule. Number 4, write this down, follow the legacy rule. The legacy rule says, I choose to sacrifice for others. When we live to serve, when we choose to direct our actions and our behaviors and our attitudes and our emotions within the path of making a positive difference in the lives of others, we are leaving a legacy behind. And how we do that is sacrificing for others, putting ourselves not second, but having the need to serve others' needs. And many times we have to sacrifice for that. There was a auto accident where a young boy of 7 and his sister of the age of 9 were in an accident. And the sister was in critical condition in the hospital. She'd lost a lot of blood, and her 7-year-old brother was across the hallway in the hospital room, or in the hospital, and he wasn't in as bad a condition. They happened to have the same blood type, and so the doctors decided that they were going to take some of his blood and give it to his sister so that she would raise out of critical condition. And even though the mother and the father didn't need to, they went into the little boy's room, their son's room, and said, "Son, we need your blood to save your sister. Is it okay if we take your blood?" And he said instantly, yes. So they did this simple transfusion. They went and gave his blood to his sister, and she did raise out of critical condition. And a few minutes later, the mom was back in her son's room talking to the doctors, and she felt a tug on her sleeve, and she looked down, and her son said, "Mom, when do I die?" She said, "Son, what do you mean?" And he said, "Mom, you just took my blood to save my sister. I thought you needed your blood to live, but I don't have any blood anymore. When do I die?" You see, he thought when they asked to take his blood to give to his sister to save her life, he thought they meant all of it. And in that split-second decision, he chose to give his life for his sister. We choose to sacrifice for others. It's got to be in your core. It's got to be a part of who you are. And when it is, you're leaving a legacy. And you have a spirit that drives you. And you're a first-class leader that uses your influence for good and makes a positive difference in the lives of others because you're living to serve. It's been an honor to share this message with you today. Go forth. Put it to good use. I know you will. Thank you.